Today I'm going to cover bringing back intimacy in 4 steps. Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Show, where developing a long-lasting, happy relationship is the status symbol to achieve, and following my tools is one path to help get you there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in couples counseling. Be sure to click subscribe so you get notifications of future episodes, and follow me on social at Dr. Wyatt Fisher. And if you want to improve your communication for more love and less conflict, download my app today, Keep the Glow, KTG, wherever you get your apps. So today we're talking about bringing back intimacy in 4 steps. Why are we talking about this? We're talking about this because a lot of marriages struggle with physical intimacy. There's not enough of it. It doesn't exist for a lot of couples. A lot of couples have sexless marriages. And it's a real delicate balance to sustain a healthy sex life long term in a marriage. So we're going to talk about today how to bring it back, or if it is already there, how to have more of it, because research shows the happier a couple is, the more intimacy they have. The more intimacy they have, the happier they are. So the first thing we're going to talk about, which you've heard me talk about before, if you want to bring back intimacy, the first step is you have to resolve your resentments. Resentments are a block. They're a wall. If you have unresolved resentments, you're not going to want to have physical intimacy with your partner. So ask your partner today if they have resentments toward you. If they say yes, Google Reunite tool. That will bring you to my tool that I use and my master coaches use with couples to help them resolve their resentments. You have to use the Reunite tool because the Reunite tool keeps things safe. It's like guardrails when you go bowling. So instead of the ball going into the gutter, you put down the guardrails so that the ball doesn't go in the gutter. The Reunite tool does the same thing with conversations around resentments, because most of the time when you have an active resentment, you can't even talk about it without the conversation escalating or someone getting defensive. And now you just avoid it. And that creates a wall. That's a barrier. So the first step to bringing back intimacy is resolving your resentments. The second step is building back your friendship. It's hard to have intimacy with someone you don't feel like you're friends with. And oftentimes through the years, we lose our friendship with our partner. Why? There's other things that take our focus. Kids, careers, hobbies, social media, you name it. And before long, we're not connecting anymore on a friendship level. We're not sharing our thoughts. We're not having quality time together. We're not having fun together, so we lose the friendship. So if you want to bring back intimacy, you have to work on bringing back the friendship by doing the things I just described. This is where you'll start doing emotional intimacy activities and where you'll start having your dates together. You'll start having more quality time together, because it's hard to be intimate with someone you're not friends with. The third thing you want to do to bring back more intimacy is provide a lot of affection. How often do you touch your partner non-sexually? Most marriages are starving for non-sexual touch. Often, there's only touch when there's a desire for sexual intimacy. And then your partner picks up on that, and then they resent your touch. So you have to have non-sexual touching a part of your lifestyle. Think about all the moments you're around your partner. Turn that into touch. If you're with them in the kitchen, touch their back. If you're with them in the car, touch their knee. If you're with them at the dinner table, touch their hand. If you see them right when you wake up in the morning, give them a hug. Incorporate daily touches so that it becomes normal. So you're frequently touching each other non-sexually. That will help you feel close, because it's hard to have intimacy with someone you never touch. Now I'm going to get into some topics that might be a little harder to follow, but are very powerful. Number 4 is stop pursuing your partner sexually. If you are pursuing your partner sexually, what is that doing? For most low libido partners, when they're feeling pursued sexually, they feel pressure. They feel on the spot. They feel like they have to perform, and that turns into obligation sex. And when obligation sex becomes the norm, research shows libido gets even worse. Now, there is a caveat here. I would say the minority of low libido partners want to be pursued sexually. So you have to check in with your partner first before applying these ideas to see if they want to be pursued sexually or not. They may want to. If they want to be pursued sexually, then ignore this step. But by and large, most low libido partners do not want to be pursued sexually, because when they're pursued sexually, it feels like pressure. And then they feel guilty, and then they feel like they have to give in, and then it's obligation sex. And then they hand over their body, but not their soul, because they really don't want to be participating, because it feels like pressure. So to bring back intimacy, you have to do the opposite. You have to stop pursuing your partner sexually. Think about it as the high libido partner is running after the low libido partner. If you're constantly chasing your low libido partner, they're never going to stop and run back toward you. They're going to keep running away from you. So the only way they're going to slowly stop running and come back toward you is if you stop chasing them sexually. So that's step number 4, is stop pursuing your partner sexually. When you stop pursuing them, you stop making little suggestions, you stop making hints, you stop making overt sexual innuendos. When you stop all the sexual pursuing, only then can they stop running away from you and slowly pivot and start walking toward you. So that's step number 4. Step number 5 is satisfy yourself sexually. And this is a hard step. So if you're not pursuing your partner sexually, what do you do with your sexual energy? If you're a high libido partner, where's your outlet? Use yourself as your outlet. Pleasure yourself and allow that to become your satisfaction. Because if you're not pursuing your partner, you have to get your sexual needs met somewhere else. And out of your own ethics and integrity, get them met with yourself. Self-pleasure. So you can self-pleasure and mentally keep your mind focused on your partner, so you're practicing mental fidelity. But that's step number 5. Start satisfying yourself sexually, and that will help you not feel like you need your partner sexually. Because when you need your partner sexually, that makes it pressure. That makes you pursue them, and that makes them avoid it. That makes them run from you, and that turns it into no sex or obligation sex. So that's step number 5, is learn to satisfy yourself sexually so you're self-sustaining. So any intimacy with your partner becomes value added. It becomes a bonus. It doesn't become what you need to survive. Number 6, and this is one of the hardest ones of all, is learn to be loving with or without sexual intimacy. I'm speaking to high libido partners here. When you're high libido, it's very difficult to stay stable emotionally when you're not having sexual intimacy, because everything is wrapped up in sexual intimacy for you when you're high libido. How close you feel gets wrapped up in it. How good you feel gets wrapped up in it. How much pleasure you feel gets wrapped up in it. How important you feel gets wrapped up in it. How loved you feel gets wrapped up in it. Therefore, when you stop having regular sexual intimacy, your emotions can start to plummet. You can start to be distant with your partner. You can start to get crabby with them and agitated or passive aggressive. And guess what? They see that. They pick up on that. And then they learn to keep you happy. They have to give you sex. And we're right back into obligation sex. And then they feel like the only thing you care about is sex. The only thing you want is their body. And even though that's not true, that's how it comes off. So number 6 is learning to be loving with or without sexual intimacy. So what does that look like? That means you're stable. That means you're kind. That means you're friendly. That means you're warm with or without sexual intimacy. And what that will do eventually is show your partner, your low libido partner, that you love them no matter what, that you are committed no matter what. And what that does to them is it opens their heart toward you sexually. And that's what we want. We want the low libido partner to be open sexually. We want them to have a voice sexually. We want them to want to be sexual. We don't want it to be obligation. We don't want it to be pressured, because then you're both going to lose out. But that's only going to happen if you follow these steps. So number 6 is being loving with or without sexual intimacy. Because again, that conveys to your partner, my love is unconditional. And that's going to have the impact you want. Only then will your partner feel like, wow, they love me no matter what. And that will make your low libido partner more open toward you sexually. So this is something personally I had to do in my own marriage. I've shared my story before, and I'll share it again. When my wife and I got married, my wife had a lot of sexual trauma that was dormant. It didn't rise to the surface until we got married. And the way it rose to the surface is she wanted nothing to do with sexual intimacy. And I'm the high libido partner, she's the low libido partner, and I was the pursuer. I would pursue her sexually and she would avoid. I would pursue, she would avoid. And that became so entrenched and so dysfunctional, and it crippled our relationship emotionally and physically for years, until finally we received support. Finally, we broke through those patterns. And one of the ways we broke through those patterns is I stopped pursuing her sexually. Instead, I learned to self-pleasure myself. And I learned to love her unconditionally with or without sexual intimacy. And guess what that did? She stopped avoiding. She stopped running away. She stopped having obligation sex. And instead, her heart started opening up toward me, and she started walking toward me and being open and desiring sexual intimacy with me. And so it's very powerful, but it's the opposite of what you feel like doing. Because if you're high libido, you want to pursue because that's what you're interested in. That's what you desire. It's biological. You can't help it. That's how you feel connected and loved. But by doing so, you create this dynamic where your partner's constantly avoiding. They're constantly leaving. They're constantly trying to get away from your sexual advances. And the more that happens, the more you pursue. So instead, you need to reverse this. And by reversing it, a lot of people will wall off and become hostile. That's not the reversal I'm talking about. This kind of reversal is you stop pursuing your partner sexually, you start self-pleasuring sexually, and then you start providing love unconditionally. Only then will your partner start to pivot and walk back toward you emotionally and sexually. So, number one, you have to resolve your resentments. Number two, you have to build up your friendship. Number three, you have to provide lots of affection, non-sexual touching. Number four, stop pursuing your low libido partner sexually. Number five, satisfy yourself sexually. And number six, be loving with or without sexual intimacy. Thank you for listening to the Dr. Wyatt Show. If you enjoyed this episode, click the 5 stars and leave a review. I'd really appreciate it. Also, go to my website for the free PDF on this episode so you can download it and work through this with your partner. Go to drwyattfisher.com/pages/freebies. Also, be sure to call me 24/7 to leave a voicemail with your marriage questions. And then I'll respond back to it on the next Dr. Wyatt Show episode on Tuesdays. The number to call is 303-578-0618. And remember, your marriage is alive. The more you care for it and nurture it, it will grow. But the more you deprive it and neglect it, it will wilt and die. The choice is up to you. Take care.